Hey everybody, Eric here in the garden. Want to do a very quick video on spraying. If you want to see a more detailed video talking about black spot and even some issues with spider mites I had last summer, I have a more in-depth video on that, even things you should wear. But I want to quickly go through what you should wear, what I'm spraying in the garden today. So any folks that are having some issues with black spot early in the season, you can certainly tackle that. First thing, before you do any type of spraying, you want your protective gear. I usually have a hat on. I'll put that on after this video. I've got my glasses. Hopefully you can see I have a double respirator. If you can smell the chemical, you're breathing that in, so you want that. And I don't know how well you can tell, I've got an old track jacket on. It's long sleeve, so that protects me that way. And if you can tell, I've got jeans on as well. I wear all of this, and then as soon as I go into the house, I take it all off. Throw it in the washer and then go take a shower. So long sleeve, long pants, hat, eye protection, respirator. Need to do that. Old shoes, I should mention. These are what I call my garden shoes. Only cut the grass and do gardening in it. They stay in the garage. As soon as you go in, wash your clothes and take a shower. So that's the first step. Any type of spraying, you want to be protected. And again, I might look overprotected. My neighbors might wonder what I'm doing, but I'm actually following the label on what I should actually be doing. Last part of that is I've got rubber gloves. So that's what you should be wearing. What you should be using really depends. You can see I've got a pump sprayer in there in the shed. I've used that in the past. Now I've upgraded to a 4-gallon backpack sprayer. I've got it labeled for roses only because I have another one for for weed killing and things like Roundup. I certainly don't want to mix up those two, so I never put anything in here unless it's for the roses themselves. Backpack sprayer is nice. I can do 3-4 gallons of material and carry it through the garden with no problem. So that's what I use. We covered what to wear. Now, what am I spraying? This is a pretty basic universal program for black spot. That's my concern now. I've got a little bit of black spot. I want to nip it in the bud, but really going forward, I will be spraying this once a week, depending on the material, and I'll explain that in a second. So the first one I use is, it's called Manzate, but again, always look at the active ingredient. It's mancozeb. You can get it in the liquid form. This is in a wettable powder. I prefer that because it lasts longer. As long as you keep it in a container like that and you keep it dry, it'll last pretty much forever. So when I can get chemical in the powdered form, I do that instead of the liquid form. So this is sprayed every 7 days for the rest of this year. It's a contact fungicide for black spot. It will kill the spores, and I'll show you when we spray. We're going to spray the leaves and the canes, but also the ground. And this is, again, nothing new. Most folks use this. It's called Manzate, but mancozeb is the ingredient in it. That's done every 7 days. And the other thing I do, or have done in the past, I'm sorry the label's fallen off. This is something that's done every 14 days. And this is more systemic. This is propiconazole is the active ingredient, or Honor Guard is the trade name. So again, just look for the active ingredient, propiconazole. Those are the two standbys most folks use. You do the mancozeb every week. Then every other week you do the mancozeb and then mix in the propiconazole. This on the right is a contact killer. It will kill spores. On the left, the propiconazole is a systemic. It can build up a resistance, so you don't want to use it weekly. The instructions say bi-weekly. So those are the two standbys that I use and I have used in the garden here going back 5-6 years. In New York State, it worked just fine. It pretty much kept black spot at bay. Here in the South, in the Southeast to be specific, we're very humid, and I have a tremendous amount of black spot pressure. So I am now rotating in a new, 2 new chemicals in the hopes that it helps me. Witherspoon is a big nursery down here, and this is what they use. Whenever you're going to add new chemicals, there's got to be a reason for it. These are all different classes. And what I mean by that, you can look up for more information. This has a different mode of killing the black spot than that does. So that keeps my resistance issues at bay. And I think what was happening was I was doing this so consistently. We have so many different spores of black spot. I think there's over 30 strains, they say, that these two products just weren't doing it for me. So the two I'm adding, again, this is a contact fungicide used once a week, Captan fungicide, and the main ingredient is Captan itself. You can see there. That's kind of an oldie. A lot of people use that and associate it with dampening off. So when you're doing seedlings and root rot diseases and stuff like that. But it is also labeled for black spot, and it's a contact killer, and it's a different mode of action than Manzate. So I've added that to my arsenal. And I'm not even going to try to say this name, but this is generic Cleary's 3336. So if you've ever used Cleary's before, that's what this is. And again, just look at the active ingredient. This is a systemic. So again, I have a systemic and a contact, different modes. I have a systemic and propiconazole and a contact. This is my first spraying of the year, so I'm going to mix all of this together. But going forward, I'm going to rotate it through. So 1 week do Manzate, the next week Manzate and propiconazole, the next week Captan and Cleary's, and kind of rotate amongst those products through the remainder of the year. I'm hopeful that will help with some of my black spot issues. Again, certain parts of the country, like here in the southeast, you're just going to have those issues because of your climate. When I do the spraying, I don't have a lot of leaves, so I'm going to try to coat the canes. You can see this purple on this Veteran's Honor. That is black spot spores on the cane. So get your canes. I know you probably know to get the leaves, but spray all the canes. And then I'm trying to look to see if I have some leaf litter on the ground. Of course I don't in this garden. I'm going to go over here to the Randy Scott had some black spot. And I see a couple leaves down here. So notice on the ground I've got some leaf litter. If you've got all the time in the world, you can pick this up and throw it out. I've got 3 kids, so I don't have all the time in the world. So what I'll do is I'll coat the canes, coat the underside and top side of the leaves, and then when I go back for my last pass through, I'll just lightly spray the ground, and that will kill any of these spores that are on the ground themselves. So hopefully you enjoyed the video on what to wear, when to spray, what to use. Always use the label and follow those instructions. Pretty much going to be spraying weekly here through the remainder of the spring and the summer. Again, rotating these so that I don't not have any issues with resistance, and that will also be a broad spectrum spray. So if I have multiple strains of black spot, I can eliminate that. So comment below. I'm curious what you use. It's probably one of these down here, but maybe there's some other ones. And a last plug, I pretty much order anywhere online. You can get this on Amazon. You can get this on Do My Own Pest Control, and you can get it from Rosemania. Speaking of rosemania.com, they have an excellent sheet that shows you the chemical or pesticide, the dose, and the effectiveness. So me spitting out that I use it every 7 to 14 days. You can certainly use the label itself, but if you want an all-in-one form, Rosemania has done a good job with that. This has a printable chart on their website. Everybody have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed the video.